What's up, everyone? Alex here, and welcome to my little corner of the internet. I came up with a concept that I thought would really benefit the discussion of gender and how certain genders lie inside convention and outside of it, for the most part. So I talked about Othrin, which is the gender quality that is outside of masculine, feminine, neutral, and androgynous. And it usually refers to genders that are not genderless, and it doesn't refer to genders that are like xenogenders. So something like Maverick would be an Othrin gender. And when talking about Othrinity, when talking about Maverinity, I realized that there's kind of a wordiness to it. And you always describe it as it's not masculine, feminine, neutral, or null. Like, that's how you describe what Othrin is. And it's nowhere between those genders. So that's like the definition that I keep repeating and repeating when I'm talking about this kind of like gender. And I realize that there's not a word for that group of genders that is masculine, feminine, neutral, androgynous, and anything in between those. And there's no, like, people came up with gender trinary. I have a lot of feelings, a lot of negative feelings about that concept, and I finally I finally posted my essay on deconstructing the gender trinary, and it's not just the talking points in my video. I highlighted a lot of really good points where, like, besides the gender trinary being an exorcist concept, it also just, like, there's so many, like, people can't decide on what that third point is in this trinary, so we're not calling it that. That's not something I use. Othrin is not an atrinary quality, and I'm never calling it that again. But I came up with the word Ordinous, and it means either man, woman, and neutroid, and anything that's in between those, or masculine, feminine, and neutral, and anything between those. Ordinous genders are man, woman, neutroid, and ordinous qualities are masculine, feminine, and neutral. So this is how you talk about this group of genders or gender qualities. You talk about the ordinosity of a gender or quality. And I came up with exordinous, which is anything that is outside of ordinous genders. Exordinosity refers to anything that's not man, woman, neutroid, masculine, feminine, neutral. So that encompasses everything from a pora gender to maverick to all Othrin genders. Ilia gender. Kinokoric is also an exordinous gender. Xenogender. Agender would be considered an ordinous gender in that it still refers to the convention of gender. Agender kind of doesn't fit. Like, you don't automatically call agender a non-binary or a-binary identity, even though it does fall, it does kind of have qualities of those umbrella terms, but agender can be considered ordinous in some conversations, but the lack of gender identity also means that, like, it doesn't have to fall within any kind of category or quality or aspect or umbrella term. But that was my idea, to talk about certain genders and qualities. So now I can say that Othrin genders are exordinous genders that are not exactly xenogender. And that's, like, it is of an exordinous quality. So it's outside of masculine, feminine, and neutral. And I think this might really help explain gender discussions, gender complexities. Sorry, I'm so, like, distracted because I have my, like, notepad in front of me and I didn't really organize any of my thoughts because I really wanted to get this out there. My thought is that ordinosity is strictly man, woman, and neutroi. So somebody had asked me where aporigender lies, because aporigender can include neutrality, and it's going to have to be an exordinous gender because it falls outside of convention. It falls outside of man, woman, and neutroi. Aporigender isn't automatically neutral just because it's not male or female, and it still has a feeling of genderedness to it. So it goes into the exordinous gender group. It's not really like a categorization of genders, because I'm not trying to lump genders into a category that they like have to stay inside of. It really just explains whether you're within convention or outside of, or some people will say pre-existing. So the pre-existing qualities of masculine, feminine, and neutral. I think it would help to call them ordinous qualities. So that's pretty much all that I had. So on the YB3 Wiki, I have a number of genders and gender qualities that I've coined and that I talk about, and they all go into their own specific categories, whether it's masculine and feminine, or xenogender, or genderless, or othrin, or I even have a category for like space-related genders and gender systems and such. Like, they all have their own neat little categories. Mavrin has its own category. A-binary has its own category. Polygender, demigender, gender fluid, gender flux. You would see this on a lot of gender wikis. They'd be categorized into these different things, but this is not used for that. This is just a way to describe genders. Whether they are ordinous or ex-ordinis is just a way to explain where a gender lies in the giant gender spectrum. So it's not really saying that these are more common genders and here are the rare genders. And it's not saying here are the conforming genders and here are the non-conforming genders. Conforming and conventional are two different things in this kind of discussion. So I'm hoping it spreads. I have the actual like coining post where I explained how this is supposed to work and how this is supposed to be used. So it doesn't work the way that like the in nature system works. So if something is like masculine in nature, MIN, it's a min gender. It doesn't work that way. And you know, if something is like agender or part of the agender spectrum, it's ageospec. It's not like a spectrum term either. And these are not gender qualities. So you wouldn't use them in the same way that you would use masculine, feminine, neutral, othrin, mavrin. It's not meant to be a type of like intrinsic quality to a gender. I think the best way you can explain what ordinous and exordinous are supposed to be is to describe it, like compare it to the allobinary system. It was a system of descriptors that is meant to explain where your gender lies, whether it's within or outside of the binary, and whether it uses binary related concepts to talk about your gender. Mid-binary is its own concept. I don't know when that was coined versus the allobinary system, but it's not part of that, but it's a similar concept where like you're talking about where your gender is within the gender binary, or whether it's within proximity to it or entirely outside of it, and it doesn't describe specific genders. So like exobinary is, it explains that your gender is entirely outside of the binary. If you're talking about exobinary concepts or a gender experience that is exobinary, it's far outside of the binary and it's not compared to it, and it doesn't use binary concepts to explain it. And that's different from abinary, because abinary is an actual gender and describes a whole system of genders that are outside of the binary, whereas like exobinary is just a descriptor. So that's kind of how you can view this. Exordinous and ordinous is comparable to the allobinary system. It just also includes neutrality because it's convention versus outside of convention. So that's the best way, I think, to describe this and talk about this. So there's no in-betweens. The allobinary system has like, oh, it's not a gender that falls within the binary, but it uses binary concepts to explain what it is. It's not exactly that. Like, it's not going to have like the in-betweens. Like apora gender was like is it ordinous? Is it ex-ordinis? It has to be ex-ordinis. Ordinosity is strictly the three and between them. Sometimes agender, but it's the same reason why the letter Y is sometimes a consonant, sometimes a vowel. It depends on what you're talking about. Sorry, I was moving my notebook to like the next topic so that I can have it there and ready to talk about in the future. I'm probably not recording anymore today. So that's it. I will have a link in the description to the original post on Tumblr where I talked about this idea of ordinous and ex-ordinous genders, and I want to start using it more. Even if I like revisit the concept. Sorry, I'm putting my pen back. I'm starting to fidget, which means I need to get up. But I'm trying to use it more. Where, like, I mean, recently I put a post out and I was like, I noticed that a lot of ex-ordinous genders don't have their own specific gender symbols. Like, xenogenders got one, and then like some non-binary genders have them, like demi-boy and demi-girl, or girl fluid, girl flux. But I noticed that like a lot of specific ex-ordinous genders don't have gender symbols. Like, where are they? I had put that out recently, and I'm trying to get into the habit of talking about that kind of thing. Though I guess I could have just said, like, there's a lot of other genders that don't have gender symbols. But I also wanted to include, like, other things, I suppose. So yeah, I would love to make this a thing. I think it would really, it kind of condenses discussions about gender so that we don't have to constantly be saying this gender is outside of masculine, feminine, neutral, and null, and is nowhere in between them. We could just say that this gender is exordinous, or has an exordinous, I wouldn't say an exordinous quality. Like, a gender can't be exordinous by quality, but if I say like othrin, which is a quality, it's an exordinous quality. So I want to get it going. I want to talk more about it. I want to see it used a lot. But yeah, that will be in the coining post, will be in the description and everything. I've got so many plans for the next couple months. I have plans for Pride Month, but I don't know exactly what I want to do with it yet. So if anyone has any kind of ideas, that would be fantastic. I don't travel as much anymore. I don't really have access to Pride events as much as I used to. Maybe by some miracle, I'll get out there to a Pride event. I don't think I'm tabling for a Pride event anytime soon, like I did last year, but any other kind of ideas as to something I can like talk about online, something I can get the community talking about, or just anything like that would be really cool. So throw some ideas for me, out for me. Throw some ideas out for me. Obviously, we're still in the month of March right now, but we can just talk about, I don't know, we can talk about future plans anyway. Anyway, I'm signing off for now. See you later.